I'm James Brierton. You're watching live coverage from the Carolina Weather Group. We have a tornado warning now, two of them from multiple counties: Halifax, Warren, Franklin counties. This is in eastern North Carolina, just to the north and to the east of Raleigh. We've got radar up here on the screen, and let's walk you through what we got going on. First, with the one that is probably easiest to see on Doppler radar here. It's not the traditional reds and greens. Instead, it's this kind of white pinkish area right on in here, coming right on up on the Virginia border between North Carolina and South Carolina. So you can see we actually have polygons now on both the north side and the south side of the state line here as we continue to track this thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado now that is just going to slide off to the rest of Roanoke Rapids. And you can see we got a trajectory here going northeast. These storms have been moving relatively quickly throughout the day, and they're continuing now to move to the north and to the east here. And this one's going to be coming towards Lake Gaston and Rosemary and Macon, and as I mentioned, Roanoke Rapids Lake. And this warning here on the North Carolina side for Warren and Halifax counties in North Carolina will continue as we head on through the next 15 minutes or so. The storm, as I mentioned, going 35 miles an hour to the north and to the east. And that's why we have a tornado warning on the North Carolina side of the border until 4:30. On the Virginia side, if you happen to be joining us from there, you can see this is Northampton, Greensville, and Brunswick counties, and this goes until 4:45 on the Virginia side of the border because this storm is going to be then moving into Virginia. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this one over the course of the next few minutes here on the Carolina Weather Group as it heads out of the Carolinas. We do have another cell that does have a tornado warning on it. This one is near Centerville. Again, we're to the north and to the east of Raleigh. You can see for reference here, we have Wake Forest, the city, and we have Henderson. This is along the 85 corridor here, just off to the left side or the west side of your screen. So we have two thunderstorms capable of producing a tornado, prompting essentially two clusters, a total of three polygons. And these are kind of training through each other. So I think it's important to mention right now that if you're watching from Macon, if you're watching from Halifax, if you're watching from Warren, you have to wait for this one area of rotation to move off to your north and the east, but then stay alert because you are going to have a possible second rotation kind of coming right up behind that one. That's the one coming right now out of Lewisburg and Centerville. I'm getting an update here from the National Weather Service, issuing an update now on their severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado and Warren and Franklin counties. That is until 4:30. This storm will near Lewisburg around 4:05 as it now continues towards Centerville and Ingleside. The debris here will, of course, be like we've had throughout the day, the possibility of strong winds and tornadic rotation causing flying debris to damage things that are outside. So you want to find yourself right now inside, center level, lowest level of a sturdy structure away from windows and doors as the storm continues now to move off to the north and to the east at 35 miles an hour. Both of these storms, if I'm not mistaken, are radar indicated, so we don't have any confirmation of them on the ground right now, but we did have a very likely tornado on the ground earlier today south of Raleigh, and that was, if you were with us earlier today, in the city of Garner, where we did get reports of downed trees and power lines there from a radar indicated tornado. Something that I think we will get confirmed in the next day or two from the National Weather Service. So this is a tornado warning now stretching Halifax, Warren, Franklin counties in North Carolina. Also, then will extend into the Virginia side outside of our coverage area. But if you know anybody in the Virginia side, this will continue towards that 95 corridor. We're kind of right now, right between the goalposts, between 85 and 95, the two interstates there, as we continue to track these two storms. Also getting word from the National Weather Service that they're keeping a close eye on the possibility that this storm could actually be producing some hail. Not something we were necessarily too worried about today. We've been mostly worried about heavy rain, damaging winds, and the possibility of some of these tornadic spin-ups, but I guess hail is possible too, and you can see just a little bit of that hail signature here on the radar. And do I actually have more than one radar to play with? I kind of do. I kind of do, especially as we get closer to the Virginia side. You can see a little bit stronger of a signal, not overwhelming, but a little bit as that storm continues to move off to the north and to the east. So switching back over here to the Raleigh radar, I can show you now how heavy the rain is coming down, right? So that is obviously something that most of us are seeing today, on and again, off again, is that heavy rain associated with these storms. And the Raleigh area so far seems to be the centerfold of where we are getting a lot of these tornado warnings. Most of them have been kind of right on up in this corridor, a little bit further south there as we kind of draw that line through. As we're continuing to watch kind of several rounds of storms, some of them more isolated and more discrete than others, moving through the Carolinas. You can see as I kind of just do a quick tour of the radar across the region. We don't really have any other storms to tell you about right now in terms of warnings. We do have a tornado watch that is in effect for most of eastern North Carolina and portions of southeastern North Carolina for another 3.5 hours. And this will continue until that 8 o'clock hour, as some of these more discrete storms will have the possibility and just enough energy to start rotating, kind of like we're starting to see here. I will take this as encouraging news that while we had this one tornado warning here over that Centerville area, it has now kind of been encompassed inside a yellow severe thunderstorm warning. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't continue the tornado warning. Could just be a part of the broader threat as we're looking again at the possibility of wind and hail for all of these other areas inside this polygon. But it does sometimes tell us that they might be getting ready, they being the Weather Service, to transition us from a tornado warning to a severe thunderstorm warning, both of which can be damaging, can cause injuries. 60-mile-per-hour winds is the requirement there for that severe thunderstorm warning. And you can kind of even see still on the radar indicated winds here, this is the velocity where we might have that possible rotation here just outside of Centerville. Either way, you can actually see all along this thunderstorm a pretty distinct boundary here where some of those heavy winds will come roaring on through as this continues to move to the north and to the east at about 30 miles an hour or so. So again, if you're in Gaston, Roanoke Rapids, South Weldon, Halifax, Seaboard, you be advised that this is coming your way. Watch for continuing warnings as this whole cluster of thunderstorms continues to move to the north and to the east. And again, even though we have one polygon up here right now, if you kind of count the two of them as one, we do have a second area of possible rotation coming from your south. So whether or not this exact rotation holds together, or even if that one kind of dies down, the tornado warning is a reminder that all the way through 8 o'clock tonight, we have to watch for the potential of more severe thunderstorms with damaging winds, whether it's rotating or otherwise. The Storm Prediction Center does have a slight risk out. That's a tier 2 out of 5 for most of eastern North Carolina from that Raleigh area off to the east, and a marginal risk for much of the rest of the Carolinas outside of the higher elevations. This is primarily due to a 15% chance of, a 5% chance of seeing a tornado and a 15% chance of seeing those damaging severe winds. We'll bring Raleigh radar back on up here. You're welcome to join our comment as you're joining us live right now. And remind you that if you were inside either one of those red polygons, now's a good time to seek shelter, lowest level of a sturdy structure away from windows and doors. The best place to be is a basement, but I know so many of us don't have basements, so you just kind of want to really just, your best odds are just to be downstairs, whatever that might be, and wherever type of home you live in, as far away from the doors and the windows as possible. If you happen to have a helmet or something, it never hurts to have an extra layer of protection. Continuing to keep an eye on feeds that we get in from the National Weather Service and partners throughout the region. And I will remind you that earlier today, we did have what is likely to be a thunderstorm that produced a tornado south of Raleigh in the Garner area. We did see some pictures of some of that online a little bit earlier here, and I do want to share that with you. So you can see we are getting some pictures now in from damage that happened earlier today. This is from WNCN. This is the CBS affiliate in the Raleigh area. And you can see some large trees, pine trees here on this home. That one along Ford Drive. This one near Buckhorn Road caused significant damage to this home. And so this is from a likely tornado, radar confirmed tornado that came through the Garner, North Carolina area south of Raleigh about noontime today. And as you can see, first responders were out there helping people. And we'll continue out there as well into the evening hours as needed to help people with the cleanup from that storm. Take a look here. Duke Energy power outages coming on your screen here momentarily. I know there's all sorts of power companies across the Carolinas, but Duke being one of the larger ones, I like to use them a little bit of a rule of thumb right now. And you can see overall the Duke Energy outages are relatively low, which is always good news on a stormy day. We do have a little less than 1,000 outages in the Raleigh area, about 200 of those right there in that Garner area, especially as we come back into that Woodridge neighborhood. You can see where some of those hardest hit areas might be just south of US 70 and to the east of 401 from those storms earlier today. Let's get you back on over now to live radar as we're continuing to track tornado warnings in North Carolina at 4:24 p.m. Eastern time on this Sunday. And we'll switch from reflectivity over to velocity. And the area of rotation with our northernmost storm is just now crossing the border into Virginia. And so we'll let this one slide on into Virginia. If you're watching from Virginia, you can find continuing updates on your local media there as this will make its way towards Emporia and I-95 over the course of the next few minutes. I would expect to see that the Halifax and Warren County, North Carolina warning, which was to expire anyway in about 4 minutes, is now being let go as that area of rotation with our northernmost storm enters into Virginia. We do have another tornado warning that still goes for another 4 minutes or so near Lewisburg, Centerville, and Ingleside. This is in portions of Franklin and Warren counties as well. And I would expect to see that the National Weather Service is probably going to let this one expire, but I don't want to speak for them. That is certainly their job, not mine. And so we'll wait here a moment to see what it is the Weather Service decides to do with this southern of the two polygons. But again, because they've already drawn this bigger yellow box, which I've now outlined in blue, which is a severe thunderstorm warning, I suspect they're going to transition us over to that larger severe thunderstorm warning, which primarily means we're going to see damaging wind threat. And I suspect that is exactly what they just did, because I just got a second cancellation of a tornado warning for portions of Warren County, and this one also being parts of Franklin County. You can now see that we've mostly cleared the board of tornado warnings in North Carolina. We just have a small sliver of real estate in North Carolina left here, just south of the Virginia line, maybe 4 miles at the most, just to the west of Gaston. And this is for the rotation now that has moved on out of North Carolina and is going to dig its way deeper into Virginia. So before we go, let's just widen out here and try to show you what's on the board. We will have that one severe thunderstorm warning that will go for another 20 minutes at the very least. We have a tornado watch that's in effect from Raleigh off to the east. That goes until 8 o'clock tonight as we continue to watch some of these discrete cells, which could produce some of these spin-up tornadoes. Quick in nature is what we would probably expect to see, and luckily nothing as intense or as devastating as what we saw across portions of Tennessee yesterday. That's some good news for us. We're not expecting anything like that. Let me show you here our future cast so you can know what to expect as we go on through the rest of the evening hours. This is the HRRR, our high rapid resolution model. As soon as I find the controls to move it on forward, I would be happy to do that. Here they are. Okay. As you can see, we go on through the rest of the evening hours. Discrete strong storms, especially across the eastern half of North Carolina. And yes, even portions of South Carolina are possible. And then about 6 hours from now, as you're probably getting ready for bed, we do have kind of one more line. You can kind of probably make it out there stretching from Greensboro back down south of Charlotte into portions of Columbia that will begin to usher in the end. There'll be some rain back behind that, but that's kind of the last wave that kind of drags the rest of this along. It's all associated with a cold front that's going to be coming on through. So we'll watch for, again, mostly a severe threat on eastern North Carolina side, a little bit down towards Myrtle Beach. I can't fully rule it out closer to I-77, but really now as we grow closer to those evening hours, whatever severe weather we do get will probably be in eastern North Carolina, or again, like I mentioned, a little bit of that Myrtle Beach area. The severe weather ingredients today, not off the charts, not zero either, but another fun fact that we'll keep an eye on is actually a little bit of winter precipitation that is going to be possible as we head on into the evening hour. So this does take away the intensity of the rain as we're looking now at the precipitation type on this model run, but really just distinguishing here between what is rain and what is snow. You can see we'll get some good snow across portions of the higher elevations in western North Carolina. And then, yes, maybe even a few flakes falling across portions of Greensboro. I wouldn't expect anything to stick, nothing significant. And I don't think it's really going to make its way down into Mecklenburg County, but you can kind of get the idea that all of this rain, all of these storms are kind of riding in a cold front. And tomorrow morning is going to be a chilly morning as you make your way out to work and to school. So be sure to bundle up. And if you've got a weather radio, it never hurts to keep it on for days just like this, where, yes, even in December, we can get a little severe weather. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte, North Carolina. Thanks so much for joining me for this update. If you are watching on YouTube, we'll return you to the Carolina WeatherNet in just a moment. Live streaming radar around the clock with real-time warnings so you can stay up to date on everything that's happening even when I'm not sitting in this chair. If you're with us on another platform such as Facebook or X, we invite you to like and subscribe over on our YouTube channel so you can stay up to date as we go on through the rest of the evenings. I like YouTube because you can watch it on almost any size screen. I will leave you now with this live look in Boone, North Carolina. We'll be watching some of the snowflakes falling later on this evening. It's 4:30, December 10th, 2023. I'm James Brierton. You're watching the Carolina Weather Group.